Welcome to the podcast Organized Mayhem. We're coming to you from 110 South 11th Street, the home of Maria and Rap Shack. But before we dive into all things Philadelphia, restaurant businesses, and everything in between, this episode is brought to you by Cisco. Cisco has a groundbreaking new facility now in town, serving the Pennsylvania market and in the Lehigh Valley, Poconos, and neighboring areas. Discover high-quality foods, products, services, and more at cisco.com.
Woohoo again.
Okay, we are recording. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Organized Mayhem. I'm your host, Cami, with my brother, Scott.
Hello.
And my dear friend, John Lupa.
Hello.
Now, normally we talk about all things restaurant, all things Rap Shack, from unruly customers, wonderful customers, from bars and drinks and flirting. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I do for a living. So what I do is I am a relationship coach, a matchmaker, and I help people navigate the nutty world of relationships. And you can find me on roadtoyou.com. or marriagemindedmentor.com. And I would like to, I'll tell you, so every Saturday night, I send out couples that are going out on dates, or I'm coaching couples that are going out on dates. And then I wait Sunday morning to find out, how did it go? Right? So I would say one of the things that comes back every Sunday morning, somebody will text me and say they were really nice, but there was no chemistry, right? There's no chemistry. So let me ask you guys your opinion, and I have my own based on a lot of research and based on a lot of time spent debating this and thinking this through with Linda, who we interviewed last week, and some of the best matchmakers across the world. What do you guys think? Do you think it's a deal breaker if on a first date there's no chemistry?
You go first.
No, I don't think it's the deal breaker. The deal breaker for me, though, is if, because I hear the biggest complaint every time when people talk about their first dates or whatever, is if the woman or the man talks too much. That's a deal breaker. I feel like it has to be playing off each other a little bit. So I don't think there has to be chemistry, but no one wants to hear, listen, I've been out of the dating pool for 21 years, but I just listen to people. But I feel like that seems, when I talk to people, that's the deal breaker.
Okay, great. Great feedback. Okay, I'm going to take that as it is. One, sometimes people get nervous, and that's a nervous response. However, my tip to anybody who's I'm coaching would be, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, because you want to listen twice as much as you talk. So that's good dating advice. Even that being said, you can blow it on a date and yammer on. What do you think? What do you think, Lupa? What do you think? Do you think chemistry, not having chemistry on the first date is a deal breaker?
I was thinking about this while Scott was giving his answer. To me, I don't need chemistry to have a second date, but I think it might remove me from thinking about you as like a relationship. Like maybe we can date and see if things work. But, if you have strong chemistry with somebody to start, it immediately, I think as a male, you go, oh, this is like a serious switch clicks in your brain. Just in my opinion. Yeah. I think the chemistry, the first spark is important.
Okay. So I hear you. And maybe sometimes there is that first spark. Mm-hmm. My advice to people, though, is a little bit different, is that we don't know, like when you're going on a first date, just say you guys were hiring someone, okay, which is a lot less stakes for like somebody who's going to be your girlfriend. You're hiring someone through work, and they presented really well on the interview. Have you ever had someone who presented really well in the interview, but then you hired them and they weren't great?
Yeah, 50% of the people that
50. Jesus. I mean,
everybody promises everything.
Everyone promises the world. I can my favorite is I can multitask, right. And they can't do 2 things at once.
Okay. So
however, a lot of people have surprised.
We know that it's a coin toss, And then what about the other side of the coin? Have you ever hired someone that you weren't exactly sure of and they turned out to be great?
All of our current employees.
Yeah, to be honest with you, and this is a plug, and I actually should get him on the podcast, Tony from the Manioc Restaurant School, not bartending school, not restaurant school. Cammie, you know him too from back in the day. They're new bartenders. Most of them don't know shit about bartending. They're just learning. Some of them still.
Oh, I did meet that kid. Yeah.
But we just hired a batch from there, about 3 or 4, and 3 of them actually worked out, and they're killing it. They're doing great over here. And
okay, so you are making my argument for me, right? Is that the first meeting, you maybe have a 50-50 shot at best at getting it right. Sometimes people do not either interview well, and a date essentially is an interview, right? So we can be all kinds of things on the first date. It's not to say and people will say, well, I wasn't attracted to them. Attraction sometimes builds, right? Just like you can be totally, you thought somebody was great. And it's just say you hired a good looking person to be a bartender and you thought that they were going to, and then they ended up to be really annoying or not great. What you thought at first is not what you're thinking at second. So my advice would be, go out on the second date. You just don't know. You really don't know. And then what are you looking for, right? So if you're interviewing someone's going to tell you all the right things. Oh, well, what do people say about me? Oh, people say I'm a pleaser, or people say that I work too hard, or I'm a perfectionist. All of those buzzwords that everybody wants to hear. You don't know any of that until it's tested and you see it in action, right? So you can't tell if somebody's honest until they're presented in a position to be honest.
Correct.
You know what, Cam? I'm going to expand your business right now. Guess what? There is a new form of dating now. It's called finding a roommate for college. Since I have twin daughters that are going to college,
right? Yes.
This is crazy. They actually, it's like an interview process. People want to meet somebody before they go, and they want to have a roommate. Me, I just live with somebody.
I thought you just go when they assign you.
Not anymore.
That was 20 years ago, man.
Scott, believe it or not, we do that too. We have done work with roommates. With Linda and I in the survey that we talked about.
Going to have another side business with you.
We have done work with roommates. That is more have people communicate better while they're roommates. The other thing is the same thing like dating, right? So these kids, especially, so invested in pictures, right? And just as in pictures in a dating world, I hate them, right? Some people are photogenic, some people are not photogenic. Some people put up old pictures, young people. They judge people on the quality of their Instagram or their social media. Can you guys hear me? You guys good?
I'm so sorry. Please edit that out. Jay.
This is why we're going in studio soon, so we can get a little bit better of equipment.
Okay, no worries. But so let's go back to the roommate situation, right? Again, when we make snap judgments about people from pictures or these things, you don't really know. It takes a bit of time. And then even if you do know, so if they just say 2 roommates find each other and they think everything is amazing, a lot of that is a narrative in your own head that doesn't
work out half the time. The people you live with freshman year, half the time you don't ever talk to again.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And I do believe finding a good way to start your college, just like finding a partner in life. You want to start off your college experience on the right foot. And it is nice to have somebody, your nerves are high when you're going to college. So it's nice to have someone to walk to class, explore things, go through the nerves together with. And it can be really bonding. And so it's a great thing to start off nicely. But how you pick that person, what you say, do I call back? Do I not call back? How aggressive am I being? Am I getting rejected? All of those things. It is, Scott, you're right, very similar to dating.
So you're a roommate coach too?
I mean, the bottom line is I can be an anything coach. If it's anything.
I have a beef with all this.
Yeah.
It's the university's job to just put people randomly together. And then you know what? You go find your other friend that's going to.
It doesn't work like that anymore.
But it has to. That's the only way that you can have this thing or else it's all cliques all the time. Or else all the little cool kids are with the cool kids. The nerds are with the. That is not healthy.
Get with the fucking program. Jesus
the college
Christ.
has to do it again. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, listen, everything has changed. And
Oh.
I think that, even with the universities have their own AI that can generate, curated roommate experiences. But I think, again, it goes back to AI being limited. Like, there's a lot of dating apps that are using AI to generate dates. And again,
Once that just reminded me of something. Let's continue, but remind me of that. I got to talk about a sketch or a skit from Saturday Night Live this weekend.
oh, well, tell me about it now. You can tell it. Go ahead.
So definitely one of the funnier skits I've seen on Saturday Night Live. I don't watch Saturday Night Live normally, but it's on TikTok and everyone's been talking about it. It's actually, I was cracking up. I've seen it like 4 times with Ryan Gosling and Matt Day, and
Mikey Day.
and it was they were Matt Day or Mike Day and Gosling were Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, I saw that.
And they were talking about AI. Was it Kevin Thompson, and it was hysterical, and they couldn't stop laughing, and it was just really funny, and it was all about AI.
I'm so glad you interrupted our riveting conversation to talk about that skit.
About Beavis, it all comes back to Beavis and Butthead.
No, I did see that, and there's certain sketches about Saturday Night Live that I do love. But back to what we were saying is about
Jeremy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you acting as the dating app in your business, or are they also using dating apps and then you're coaching them on who they're getting, or what?
It depends on the client and what the client wants. Sometimes clients will come and say, get me off the apps. I cannot stand it anymore, and help me find people. That's fine. I actually think that what I don't like about that approach is, and I understand a lot of people do like that approach, is I can give you in this example. I used to volunteer for an organization called Our Closet. And Our Closet, what they do is like people who, maybe like left bad home situations and they needed to go shopping. It gives them a dignified shopping experience, even though all the clothing is free. So while you could get a million things, the rule was you could only get 5 articles of clothing. And the reason why is when you're invested in your choosing, there's some pride to that. If you're picking between the green sweater and the blue sweater, there's something attachment to that sweater or whatever. So the same mentality, I think, works for dating. That if I'm finding you dates, it's easier to be like, it kind of come easy, or it's almost like handed to you, and you can have like a different mentality about it. I prefer we figure out how to best find you dates together. And then we analyze like why you would like someone, why you wouldn't like someone. But one of the things, like even from the get-go, before the date happens, I would like to encourage people that unless there is really something major, a values difference on a first date, just hearing that you're not attracted or you're like not dying for someone doesn't, to me, warrant not a second date. Second dates are really just like, as you said, it is a 50-50 shot that your instinct is right. And even if everything was amazing, sometimes that's a red flag too. Somebody's really charming and somebody, could be like nuts, right? Like, to find out if you're making an important decision about your relationship, then make it an important decision. Use the tools that make these decisions important, which are, okay, what did I like about them? What are their values? How do we align? And sometimes with that, attraction grows. And I do get the fact that like physical attraction is a big thing. Like, you want to be physically attracted to your partner, but you're knowing that before you go on a date because you've seen a picture.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even though I can't stand pictures. So I know we're doing a dating event at your place. I believe sometime in September, October, right?
July,
so,
hopefully.
It's a speed dating. It's a speed dating event, I believe. I think that's what we landed on, was a speed dating event. But I prefer those. I prefer when you're going in. Like, how do you know? Like, as much as like I love talking to you guys on Zoom, it's great. There's something about being in the room with you that changes dynamics. And also, it's different from a picture. How can you tell from a picture if someone has a great smile or a great personality? How can you tell? And even on a first date, like, things translate differently. So that was my free advice for anybody who is listening right now.
So give everybody a second date.
Give everybody, and whether it's a college roommate or an interview or, wanting to find the love of your life, go into it with an open mind. Try to judge people favorably as you would want to be judged favorably, right? It's, I would want somebody to judge me favorably. And at the same time, Mariah is ready to help you on those first date experiences, because one way to judge me favorably from the outside in is your beautiful dim lighting. I always feel like I look the best
Love
in
lighting.
Your brother is obsessed with the darkness too.
I do.
Yeah,
I love
I'm
it.
not arguing with you. I agree. But
Dating is an experience. You know,
Everything,
it's
everything.
full body. You have great
why?
music.
It's
You
something
have
that's important.
good, sexy
Lighting
music.
is important.
Yeah.
Lighting is
Second
important.
dates now are important.
Second dates are
Second dates are important. Good lighting, good music, good food. So for all
But I'm
the
assuming,
young lovers
Ken,
out there, go to Rap Shack and Mariah. Yes.
that if you're, I mean, obviously we want people to enjoy Mariah or the Rap Shack, but I'm assuming we're telling people they shouldn't go to the same place twice. So you can actually, if you go to your first date at Mariah or your second date,
I love this.
yeah,
Yes.
you can go to Rap Shack too for your second date. But
Scott, you
maybe
should
not.
be
Or
a
maybe
date.
not.
I think you should. No,
I
but
will
love
tell you
the
why
casual
you should be a
second
dating
yeah,
coach.
casual second date actually is pretty cool.
That is
Exactly. So what I like about dating too is that the first date and the second date should be totally different.
And
So
then if you get stood up too, they couldn't have not like found the place.
right, that's true. Well, tell
You're,
nobody.
you're already talking about getting stood up.
I would say yes, that's exactly right. You want to see people in different settings, right? Some people are more comfortable in a fancy setting.
Right.
Some people, or even now that you guys are open for lunch, why not have a dinner date or a lunch date?
You gotta have a beverage for a date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep.
And then, if you're going to have a
something to
beverage during
hold or-
lunch,
Yes.
then
Then you look like an alky.
yeah, then like an alky. But,
Right. During brunch, I can't have a mimosa.
Whoa, brunch fine.
yeah, but what happens if we're open Wednesday
Right.
now for lunch?
Yes.
What happens if well, I'm not dating, but what happens if Lupa here is having an IPA?
Right.
And
Okay,
to be
well,
honest with you, I've gone out for drinks with Lupa. That IPA also comes with a Jameson shot, so it doesn't.
Well,
so
okay. Maybe your fourth date, when you're not drinking, you're just having like a get to know you date.
Yes. Yes. Where would I go? I think the zoo.
It's a great place. It's a great
Yep,
place.
I knew she'd say that. Yeah.
It's a great place. The zoo, or even just walking around Rittenhouse
A
Square.
hike, a walk.
what about like a flower show or something
Yes,
like that,
I
or
love
I don't know.
Absolutely.
You know what I always
Actually,
think is
great. Now, let me
kinda
ask you guys a question.
My wife's listening to this and being like, "We never went to a flower
We
show
never
or
did
anything."
You're
like
in
that.
college. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you guys think that the man should pay on a first date?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Listen, I think it's cute. Hey, let's split it. Let's do this. If you don't pay as a man on the first date, just
Well, if the second date goes bad,
right,
then you split.
then you split. Right.
You know.
Yep.
I think
So,
if I'm not willing to pay for your $30 worth of food, I'm not really invested in the date at all.
Now, do you expect the woman to offer?
No, I don't care. I expect to pay. Don't go out if you're not expecting to pay.
I expect like a fake, like reaching for the wallet with the
Do you
intention
really?
of not doing.
No, you don't. I've seen you go out with people that you know you're going to pay for. You don't want. Yeah.
Well, that's true, but I
brother
don't know.
really-
I'm making
your-
conversation here.
Your brother.
Well,
really
no,
goes,
I think that it's nice to have a. I don't know where I land on that. Today, like we have 4 daughters between us, Scott and I, right? Like on the one hand, I was raised by a father who would snap someone's neck if he didn't pay for me on a first date.
Right.
Right. So like that's how I was raised. Not saying like there's plenty of things that are outdated in my father's thinking, but that was definitely how I was raised. Would I want the guy to? We're raising these girls to be independent, strong women who are making their own way into the world and be independent. And so it's a loaded question. It's like, what would I want for them?
From my perspective, it's one of the benefits of being a woman. You get if a man asks you on a date, you get a free meal. That's the end of the story. You don't have to give anything. You don't have to offer anything. You can sit there silent. You still get your free fucking meal. That's how I think of it.
I mean, so part of me is like, if we're hashing it out, and I don't know, there's certainly not a right or wrong about this. So one of the women who went on a date Saturday night, like before her date, she got a blowout. So that's $45, right? Like,
Right.
there's a lot of effort and work that went
Right.
into
Yeah.
it. So maybe that is the exchange. It's sometimes more expensive to be a woman, although plenty of men are perfectly groomed, and everyone's
Your blowout.
I got a third date for Lupa.
I love it.
Ready for this one?
sure.
This is a deal breaker for him. He's very particular about his donuts, about what people choose for
Big
their
time.
donuts. Like it's like the
Oh,
biggest deal
okay. All right. So
of
let me
all
hear. Let
time.
me hear. What's your? So this
It's our
could be
biggest fight.
a woman. So what's your?
And here we go.
If you're getting a dozen donuts and
Okay.
you don't get any interesting variety, if you don't get a cruller or sour cream
Crawler, but
or
whatever.
something more interesting than chocolate frosted or glazed, out of 12 donuts, you're a basic person that shouldn't that I have
shouldn't
no interest.
exist.
I have no interest in. I wouldn't have anything to talk about. I wouldn't care to talk to you about anything. I hate the
This is his deal breaker.
I would say, like, I would get mostly like the ones that everybody likes. I personally wouldn't. If just say somebody got a jelly donut and the jelly touched my chocolate or like something that I wanted in the box, I'd be really annoyed because a donut is like small and like light,
Talking to.
and I wouldn't want any jelly encroaching on my donut.
You don't get jelly donuts. I've never gotten a jelly donut.
I got it one time because I did it for you to make you happy.
It's not that, like, listen, like, I've been at a restaurant where they give you a donut tray and like there's been a jelly donut, which I dipped in chocolate. It's delicious. I'm just like, if I'm getting a donut like from someplace, I want my purity of my donut.
But this is why I tell you all the time, Cam, that Lupa's in his own world. Like he could have two wonderful dates. The third date could be to a donut shop, and that's a deal breaker.
If you order chocolate frosted,
Right. Okay. Oh, what's wrong with the chocolate frosted donut? Is such a good staple.
It's out of 12. If you're getting a dozen donuts and say, hey, we're going to bring it back to whatever, bring it back to some friends, and you don't give any variety outside of glazed, chocolate frosted, what's your other favorite? I don't know. I need some more variety. Or I need you to even inquire about, hey, what's that weird one? What's that apple, whatever, strudel?
Well, no, when we go to Bueller's, I get the salted caramel. That's great.
But that's also their most popular.
Yeah, it's good. I
The
like
Oreo
special.
one's good.
Well, Lupa, look, we've got to examine that. If you're really not going on a third date because of someone's donut choice, I'm going to say that you have some intimacy issues. But we can talk about that at the next podcast. I will tell you this. I think another cute date is just going to where you guys talked about before, Reading Terminal Market. I love Reading Terminal Market. I think it's such a Philly staple. I think it's a fun place to walk around. It's great sightseeing, and just being able to like grab two different things, sit at a place is a very cute date.
Can I ask you something?
No, she's the reason why I hate the Reading Terminal. They stare, they stop. I'm walking in.
You're trying
Can
to
you
get
move?
Get out of there, and they're in your way. I hate it too.
Sorry. I'm one of those stalkers. I'm one of those
the Reading Terminal.
It's a function
You're the
market. It's
person.
not a date spot.
Sorry.
Oh,
Disagree.
God.
To me, it's a sightseeing place as well as an eatery.
Oh my God. I'm trying to get through. I'm trying to pay. And
My favorite time to go to
hands.
Reading Terminal is when there's like 4 inches of snow outside.
too.
There's no one in
Empty.
there.
Yes.
It's great.
Well, big plug for Reading Terminal. We love Reading Terminal. Yeah, whether or not you're going there on a third date after going to Rap Shack and Mariah, but we can talk about dating advice all day. That is my where to go. Please find me at roadtoyou.com or marriagemindedmentor.com.
Can I say something? I don't know if this is a pitch or not, but Cammie, you're one of the main reasons I quit smoking. I don't know why, but I think it was. Yeah.
When are you going to quit vaping?
I'm done. I'm over it.
You're done that
I'm
too?
over it. Yeah.
Talk to me how that happened. Oh my gosh, I couldn't be any
You
happier.
take 1 day off, and then you know what? I didn't take 1 day off, but then I woke up the next day and I go, I don't want to smoke anymore, and then I just stopped. It was some podcast hypnosis.
You're saving a lot of money.
I mean, like, talk about a side gig. I can say one sentence and get you to stop smoking. Please contact me.
Right. It was.
So contact me at Kamie, Kami, Verne, V as in Victor, ERN as in Nancy, at gmail.com. And you can contact me for coaching, roommate selection, how to get along better with people, how to, find your perfect partner. Please.
Wait, he's got a bone with the roommate.
Well, I just think the colleges are messing this all up. You know what? Part of the experience for some people was like, I started with a bad roommate. I had to go to the dean's office. I had to get switched roommates. Even doing all that helps you with future stuff in life, like how to handle a situation that sucks without throwing a fit and causing a problem. Now you're all in cliques all the damn time. I don't get it. You have to see who you're living with before you live with. College was about meeting new people.
Life has changed.
It's not like that.
Yeah, life has changed. And for kids who are having trouble with the roommate stuff, it's really tough because it can feel just as much rejection of like, I sometimes, when I have couples go out on a Saturday night and one really had a good time and the other isn't interested in going out again, as somebody as helps facilitate and talk to both people, I'm reluctant I don't want to beg someone to go out with my client, or, like, because people start saying, well, I don't want to settle. I don't want people to go in with a bad attitude, but
I
just
would
like
like to interview. You send people on a date. You and I should one interview to the guy, one interview to the girl, and we'll get back to you how they feel, and we'll be the matchmaker.
You guys totally can. I mean, it's very fascinating what people say and what people find are deal breakers and why they won't go on a second or a third date. But typically, like I can give advice, but I on one hand, we all have pride. I wouldn't just say somebody went on a date with me and they didn't want to go on a second date. I don't know how I would feel if someone was like, oh, please give her a second chance. And like, I don't know if I would want someone to like beg to send me out on a second date, right? Like that doesn't sound right. Like someone, but maybe they go on a second date with me and then they see something that I put off. I was in a bad mood that day or whatever.
Can I ask you what percentage of men versus women say, no, I didn't have a good date? Do you find that a lot of men are like, it was a good date, and a lot of women say it was bad, or like?
Yeah, I wouldn't say like it's even break it down. Like I would say after this Saturday night, it's a very even split.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a very even split about like what people felt. It really was. So I am fascinated by it. And I think like it's the same, a lot of by the time people come to visit me, right, they're feeling sad, lonely, and they really want to find their person. And then you have to say, okay, if you want to find your person, if you want to have someone, what are you going to do? Right. Like, and what's the mindset? What's the mindset you're going into to connect and find that person? I'm not passing judgment, but a lot of times I do think that some people, when they're like, no, I'm not doing it, are they really motivated to find the person?
Well, me and Scott deal with something recently is people just ghosting about jobs.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that kind of came over from the dating world where it's better to have no confrontation, just block somebody's number and never talk to them again, rather than just
people don't quit anymore. They just stop coming.
They just disappear.
Yeah.
They act like they.
If somebody's working with me, I strongly advise against it. And just like, as much as I'm a marriage, like marriage and coaching and dating, I'm still a mom. So when my kids, like whenever I was talking to my kids, I would always say, like, when you're giving bad news or talking to someone, Oreo cooking it, right? So we're going to start off with the Oreo, the good, the crispy, like, oh, I had a really, really nice time. It was so nice to meet you. I don't really think that there's any, like I didn't feel like a connection, or I'm not interested in going on a second date. But, I really like, maybe I have a friend for you or whatever it is. And same thing with like, if you're leaving a job, the end of the day, you never know where your path is going to cross with someone. So like, just say I send somebody on a date and they didn't feel any chemistry. And then they barely say anything that night and they were yawning and they feel like, oh God, get me out of here. This is such a waste of time. Who's to say that the guy that you went out with or the girl that you went out with doesn't know somebody else? And then all of a sudden, like, you go on a date with someone else and they're like, oh yeah, I want to date with her. She was so rude to me on the date. Right? Like, you always want to put, like, whatever you're going into, which job, and if you're a date, you want to end on the classy note. So like, if somebody ever asks you like, oh yeah, I just hired this girl, and you see that girl, you're like, oh my God, she totally ghosted me.
Right.
My new thing is, because someone just quit. They were supposed to be in, and what, they quit. They were supposed to be in 5 minutes to work, and they just decided to quit.
No, the worst part was texted us. I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and but it actually makes it